Oh, for the love of all that's holy in the 17 quantum dimensions, will you please just pick someone already? The Keeper's exasperation echoed through the ancient chamber, their crystalline form flickering with frustration as they addressed the infamous armor of Tazari. The legendary suit remained stubbornly silent, floating in its containment field with what could only be described as smug indifference. The Keeper had been tasked with finding a worthy bearer for the armor for the past 3 centuries. It wasn't exactly the career advancement they'd hoped for when graduating from the Galactic Academy of Artifact Management with highest honors. Yet here they were, watching the 527th candidate of the day approach the testing chamber with the same mix of hope and trepidation as all the others. "Right this way, Grand Archon Vacatrix," the Keeper announced, their professional tone barely masking their certainty of another impending failure. The Archon, a towering figure of pure energy contained within an ornate environmental suit, glided forward with the confidence of someone who had never been told no in their entire existence. "I assure you, humble Keeper, that your search ends today. The armor of Tazari shall recognize my worthiness immediately." The Archon's voice resonated with the kind of authority that made lesser beings question their life choices. The Keeper merely added another tally to their mental count of similar proclamations. The testing chamber hummed to life as the Archon approached the armor. Ancient systems, older than most civilizations, scanned the candidate with methodical precision. The Keeper began their standard warning speech, delivered so many times it had become a meditation of sorts. "Please be advised that the armor may reject candidates in various ways. While most experiences are merely uncomfortable, we do have medical staff standing by in case of—" The armor didn't even let them finish. With a sound that could only be described as the technological equivalent of a snort, it generated a localized quantum field that turned the Grand Archon's environmental suit into what appeared to be a novelty dancing costume, complete with flashing lights and auto-playing music from a primitive species' mating rituals. The Keeper pinched their crystalline bridge in a gesture borrowed from carbon-based life forms. "I'll call the Dignity Restoration Team." As the mortified Archon was escorted out, still involuntarily performing what appeared to be something called the Macarena, the Keeper turned to their assistant, a young AI inhabiting a standard administrative drone. "Log it, Dave. That makes rejection method number 2749. I have to admit the armor is getting creative." The Keeper paused, considering. "Also note that we should update the waiver forms to include spontaneous transformation of formal attire into dance accessories under potential side effects." "Logged, Chief Keeper," Dave responded cheerfully. "Shall I send in the next candidate? The Supreme Overlord of the Highcom Collective is waiting, and they've brought their own choir to announce their entrance." "A choir? That's actually fairly restrained compared to last week's interpretive temporal dance troupe." The Keeper sighed. "Send them in. But first, make sure the cleanup crew has removed all traces of glitter from the last rejection. I'm still finding sparkles in my crystalline matrix from 3 candidates ago." As they waited for the next inevitable disappointment, the Keeper found themselves wondering, not for the first time, what exactly the armor was waiting for. In 3 centuries of testing, it had rejected beings of pure energy, hyper-intelligent gas clouds, silicon-based life forms of unmatched wisdom, and even a collective consciousness that spanned 3 galaxies. Each rejection seemed more elaborate than the last, as if the armor was not just testing candidates but actively entertaining itself at their expense. The Supreme Overlord entered with their choir, which began an impressive 40-part harmonic chant about their leader's accomplishments. The Keeper noticed the armor shifting slightly in its containment field, and they quickly took 3 steps back. "Perhaps we should skip the musical introduction and proceed directly to the—" Too late. The armor pulsed once, and suddenly the entire choir found themselves speaking in nothing but advertising jingles from the human information network called the Internet. The Supreme Overlord fled in shame as their choir continued to enthusiastically perform something about saving 15% or more on spacecraft insurance. "Dave, make that rejection method number 2750. The Keeper was about to call for another cleanup when an alert flashed across their consciousness. "What's this? An unscheduled arrival? Chief Keeper, it appears to be a human?" Dave's tone carried the unique mixture of confusion and curiosity that only an AI could achieve. "They seem to have gotten lost looking for the bathroom." The Keeper's crystalline form sparkled with surprise. "A human? Here? In the high citadel of ancient artifacts? How did they even get past security?" According to the logs, they showed the guards a piece of paper called a hall pass and said they were new. The guards were so confused by the primitive authentication method that they assumed it must be legitimate. Through the chamber's entrance stumbled a human female in what appeared to be maintenance coveralls, with various tools hanging from a belt that had definitely seen better days. She was looking down at a device that the Keeper's database identified as a smartphone, though it seemed to be held together with something called duct tape. Hey, sorry to bother you, but I'm looking for the facilities. The map on this thing is useless, and I've been walking for like 20 minutes. Also, your Wi-Fi password doesn't work, just FYI. The human looked up, finally noticing her surroundings. Whoa, nice light show you've got going on here. The Keeper was about to direct her to the nearest quantum manifestation chamber, the closest equivalent to what humans called a bathroom, when something unprecedented happened. The armor of Tazari, the most selective and judgmental artifact in known space. The rejector of emperors and gods alike began to hum. Not just hum, but emit a soft blue glow that the Keeper had only seen described in the ancient texts. The containment field flickered and died as the armor oriented itself toward the human, who was now trying to take a selfie with it in the background. Oh cool, floating armor. Is this like one of those interactive museum exhibits? Because I should probably get back to fixing that broken food replicator in the cafeteria, but this looks way more interesting. The Keeper's voice came out in a whisper. Dave, are you recording this? All sensors at maximum capacity, Chief Keeper. Though I feel compelled to point out that the human's presence in this sector violates approximately 3,427 different security protocols. The armor moved closer to the human, its ancient systems scanning her with an intensity that had never been seen before. The Keeper held their breath, metaphorically speaking, as their crystalline form didn't actually breathe. Hey there, buddy, the human said to the armor, reaching out to tap it with a wrench. You're a pretty one, aren't you? Though you could use some WD-40 on those joints. And maybe a new power coupling? That humming sounds a bit off. The armor's response was immediate and unprecedented. It disassembled itself and reassembled around the human so quickly that even the Keeper's advanced sensors had trouble tracking the movement. Where moments before had stood a confused maintenance worker, now stood a figure encased in the legendary armor of Tazari, which had somehow modified itself to include pockets for all her tools and a holster for her duct-taped phone. Oh, neat! The human's voice came through the armor's external speakers, which had automatically adjusted to eliminate all trace of feedback. It's like one of those fancy exoskeletons we've been trying to develop, except this one actually works. Hey, does this thing have cup holders? The armor, in direct response to her question, manifested 2 cup holders on its forearm plates. The Keeper's crystalline matrix nearly shattered from shock. Dave, please tell me you're seeing this. Affirmative, Chief Keeper. The armor has not only accepted a candidate, but is actively modifying itself to accommodate her preferences. This exceeds all recorded parameters of its behavioral matrices. Dave paused. Also, it appears to be installing what looks like a primitive Earth operating system called Windows 95. The human was now experimentally moving around in the armor, which responded to her movements with perfect synchronization. This is pretty cool, but I really should get back to work. That replicator isn't going to fix itself, and people get cranky when they can't get their morning coffee. You... The Keeper struggled to find the right words. You are now bonded with the most powerful and selective artifact in the known universe. The armor of Tazari has chosen you as its bearer, the first in over 10,000 years. Oh. The human considered this for a moment. Does that mean I still have to fix the replicator? Because I'm pretty sure that's time theft if I don't, and I really need this job. The armor briefly projected a holographic display showing the replicator's schematics, complete with diagnostic information and repair procedures. Now that's helpful? Hey, want to help me fix it? With this sweet setup, I bet we could upgrade it too. Maybe add some new menu options. The current selection is pretty limited. The Keeper watched in amazed silence as the human and the legendary armor of Tazari headed toward the cafeteria, already deep in discussion about potential improvements to various systems they passed. Dave hovered nearby, frantically updating the official records. Should I inform the High Council? Dave asked. They've been waiting for this moment for millennia. The Keeper considered the situation. In the distance, they could hear the human excitedly explaining something called micro-USB ports to the armor, which was apparently taking notes. Let's give them a few minutes. I have a feeling this is going to require a very different kind of paperwork than what we have on file. They paused, watching as the armor helped the human retrieve a dropped screwdriver. Also, update the historical records. It seems we've been looking for the wrong qualities all this time. Instead of seeking the most powerful, the most wise, or the most noble, we should have been looking for Someone who can appreciate good engineering and carries duct tape? Dave suggested. Exactly. The Keeper's crystalline form sparkled with amusement, though I suspect we'll never hear the end of it from the Supreme Overlord's choir. They're still singing about extended spacecraft warranties in the main corridor. In the cafeteria, the human and the armor had already finished repairing the replicator and were in the process of teaching it to make something called a pumpkin spice latte. The armor's cup holders were getting their first use, and somehow, despite all known laws of physics and common sense, the ancient artifact seemed utterly content. The Keeper began drafting their resignation letter in their mind. After 3 centuries, they had finally succeeded in their mission, though not in any way they could have predicted. Perhaps it was time for a career change. Besides, they had a feeling their job was about to become a lot more interesting, and possibly involve a lot more coffee. Somewhere in the distance, they could hear the human asking the armor if it had ever considered adding Bluetooth connectivity. The Keeper decided some questions were better left unanswered. The next morning, the High Council of the Galactic Federation convened an emergency session. The chamber, typically a model of dignified procedure, more closely resembled what humans would call a 3-ring circus. The Keeper stood before the assembled dignitaries, their crystalline form deliberately dimmed to project appropriate solemnity, while Dave hovered nearby, recording everything for posterity. "Let me ensure I understand this correctly," said High Counselor Zixtal, their tentacles writhing in agitation. The armor of Tazari, the most sacred and powerful artifact in known space, chose a maintenance worker? A human maintenance worker, added another counselor, as if this detail made the situation exponentially worse. To be precise, the Keeper responded. Sarah Chen, Environmental Systems Specialist, 3rd class. Though she prefers Sarah, or that coffee person who fixes things. They projected an image of Sarah, still in the armor, currently teaching the cafeteria's AI how to make something called avocado toast. And what precisely has this human done with the legendary artifact since bonding with it? Asked Zixtal. The Keeper consulted Dave's logs. In the past 24 hours, she has repaired 73 malfunctioning systems throughout the High Citadel, upgraded the quantum communication network to include something called emoji support, installed cup holders in every meeting room, and implemented what she calls a universal USB-C standard across all our technology. USB-C? A counselor's translator struggled with the term. Apparently, it's a human connection standard that the armor has become quite enthusiastic about. It's already planning to write a thesis titled, "The Universal Superiority of USB-C over Quantum Entanglement for Daily Computing Needs." The council chamber erupted in confused murmuring. High Counselor Zixtal raised all 4 hands for silence. And where is this human now? As if on cue, the chamber doors slid open with a perfectly maintained whoosh. Sarah had apparently optimized their hydraulics the previous evening. She entered, still wearing the armor, which had somehow acquired a tool belt that seemed to exist in both normal and quantum space simultaneously. "Hey there," Sarah waved cheerfully. "Sorry I'm late. The artificial gravity in Sector 7 was acting up, so I had to do a quick fix. Also, your quantum coffee maker is running about 3% below optimal efficiency. I can take a look at that after the meeting if you want." The armor projected a detailed diagnostic report of the coffee maker's performance, complete with graphs and a small animated cartoon of a sad coffee cup. High Counselor Zixtal's tentacles tied themselves in what appeared to be a stress knot. "Human Sarah Chen, do you comprehend the gravity of your situation? The armor of Tazari is meant to choose a champion who will defend the galaxy from its greatest threats." "Oh yeah, about that," Sarah said, pulling out her duct-taped phone, which the armor had somehow integrated into its systems. "I've been looking through the armor's historical databases, and I think there's been a misunderstanding. See, everyone assumed it was looking for a warrior or a leader, but if you look at the original specifications..." She projected a series of ancient schematics into the air. It was actually designed to be a universal maintenance and support system. The combat capabilities were more of an add-on feature. The council chamber fell silent. The Keeper's crystalline form flickered in surprise as they quickly accessed the ancient records. She's correct. The armor's primary function was to maintain and repair the vast networks of its creator's civilization. The defensive capabilities were incorporated later, during the Third Quantum War. "Exactly," Sarah beamed. "It's basically the universe's most advanced multi-tool, which, by the way, is probably why it kept rejecting all those emperors and overlords. It wasn't looking for someone to conquer galaxies. It was looking for someone who could appreciate a well-organized toolkit and knows the value of preventive maintenance. The armor hummed in agreement, displaying a holographic image of its internal systems, now neatly organized according to what appeared to be the Dewey Decimal System. But what about defending the galaxy from cosmic threats? Sputtered a counselor. Sarah shrugged, the armor moving smoothly with her. Well, you know what they say. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Most of your so-called cosmic threats could probably be prevented with proper system maintenance and good documentation. Speaking of which, who's been in charge of updating your security protocols? Because I found at least 17 potential vulnerabilities just on my way to the bathroom yesterday. The Keeper watched as Sarah proceeded to give the High Council an impromptu presentation on proper cybersecurity practices, complete with PowerPoint slides that the armor was projecting. The ancient artifact had even added animations and transition effects. And that's why you should never use password 123 for your quantum encryption keys, Sarah concluded. Also, whoever's been downloading those suspicious apps from the Galactic App Store needs to stop. You're going to give the entire network space viruses. Several counselors shifted uncomfortably in their seats. High Counselor Zixtal's tentacles had slowly untied themselves as they realized the implications of what they were hearing. So you're saying, they began slowly, that the greatest threats to galactic civilization aren't invading armies or cosmic horrors, but poor maintenance schedules, outdated software, and people not reading the manual? Sarah finished. Pretty much. I mean, do you know how many civilizations have collapsed because someone forgot to update their kernel? Or didn't clean their quantum filters regularly? The armor projected a pie chart showing the historical causes of galactic-level disasters, and surprisingly large percentage was labeled, "Forgot to save backup." Which reminds me, Sarah added, when was the last time anyone ran a diagnostic on the artificial gravity generators in the council chamber? Because I'm picking up some weird resonance patterns that suggest they're about due for... A subtle vibration ran through the chamber. Sarah sighed. Yep, there it goes. Don't worry, I can fix it. Anyone got a spare quantum spanner? No? That's fine. I've got some duct tape. The Keeper watched in amazement as Sarah and the armor seamlessly worked together to repair the gravity systems, even managing to improve their efficiency by 12%. Dave was frantically taking notes, particularly about something Sarah called the percussive maintenance technique. You know, the Keeper mused to Dave, perhaps this is exactly what the galaxy needed. Not another warrior or ruler, but someone who actually reads the manual and knows how to keep things running. Indeed, Dave agreed. Though I am somewhat concerned about Sarah's insistence on installing something called RGB lighting in all the quantum cores. The armor seems to like it, the Keeper noted, watching as the ancient artifact proudly displayed its newly installed LED strips, which pulsed in sync with its power cycles. High Counselor Zixtal finally spoke again, their tentacles now arranged in what might have been resignation or acceptance. Very well, human Sarah Chen. It appears the armor has chosen more wisely than we could have imagined. What are your plans now that you are bonded with the most powerful artifact in known space? Sarah looked up from where she was fixing a loose panel in the council chamber's floor. Well, first I'd like to finish my maintenance rounds, then maybe set up a proper ticketing system for repair requests. Your current method of submitting problems to the cosmic suggestion box isn't very efficient. Oh, and the armor and I were thinking of starting a YouTube channel about DIY spacecraft maintenance. You wouldn't believe how many people don't know how to properly recalibrate their warp cores. The armor enthusiastically displayed a mock-up of their channel logo, which featured a cartoon version of itself holding a wrench and giving a thumbs up. Somehow it had already accumulated several thousand subscribers. Also, Sarah added, we should probably do something about that Class 5 quantum anomaly that's about to form in the hangar bay. Someone's been charging their phone in the quantum socket again, haven't they? As the council chamber erupted into chaos once more, the Keeper couldn't help but notice that the armor seemed happier than it had in millennia. Perhaps this was what it had been waiting for all along, not someone to use it as a weapon or a symbol of power, but someone who would appreciate its true purpose and, more importantly, actually take the time to read its user manual. Though they did have to draw the line when Sarah suggested installing a coffee maker directly into the armor's systems. Some things, after all, were sacred. Even if the armor did seem surprisingly enthusiastic about the idea. 3 months after Sarah Chen's unexpected bonding with the armor of Tazari, the High Citadel had undergone what the maintenance staff referred to as the Great Optimization. The ancient halls now hummed with an efficiency that hadn't been seen since their construction. and a peculiar phenomenon had begun to spread throughout the galaxy: the rise of the tech support revolution. "I'm telling you," Sarah explained to the Keeper as they walked through the newly reorganized quantum archives. "Most galactic conflicts could be resolved with proper technical documentation and a good help desk system." The armor, which had developed a penchant for data visualization, projected a holographic chart showing the dramatic decrease in interstellar incidents since the implementation of what Sarah called the Universal IT Protocols. The chart featured small animated spaceships that moved peacefully across trade routes, now properly regulated by standardized traffic management systems. "For instance," she continued, stopping to adjust a quantum stabilizer with a practiced flick of her wrench, "take that situation with the Herkthen Empire last week. Everyone thought they were preparing for war because their communication arrays were broadcasting aggressive signals." "Ah, yes," the Keeper remembered, their crystalline forms shimming with amusement. "It turned out they had simply installed their quantum transponders upside down?" "Exactly. One remote troubleshooting session later, and suddenly they're not threatening to consume the souls of their enemies anymore. Though I did have to talk them through turning it off and on again about 5 times. Sarah paused to check something on her tablet, which the armor had upgraded to interface with every known form of technology in the universe, yet somehow still required duct tape to keep the case from falling apart. Dave floated nearby, now sporting a custom-made maintenance drone attachment that Sarah had designed. "The statistical improvement in galactic stability is quite remarkable. Incidents of cosmic horror manifestations have decreased by 73% since we implemented your mandatory Eldritch technology maintenance schedules." "Most cosmic horrors just need a good debugging session," Sarah nodded sagely. "You'd be amazed how many interdimensional entities are just grumpy because their quantum matrices are misaligned. It's like having a pebble in your shoe, except the pebble is in the 4th dimension and your shoe is the fabric of reality." The armor displayed a series of maintenance tickets it had resolved, including one labeled "Unknown Entity from Beyond Space and Time, Causing Reality Glitches. Resolution: Updated firmware and cleared cache." As they rounded a corner, they encountered a group of visiting dignitaries from the Silicon Consciousness Collective, all of whom were wearing "I Survived Sarah's Tech Support Training" t-shirts that the armor had somehow manufactured using quantum replication technology. "Sarah Chen!" The lead representative's voice resonated through their crystalline form. "Our civilization owes you a great debt. Since implementing your suggested maintenance protocols, our collective processing efficiency has increased by 247%, and we haven't had a single existential crisis caused by poorly optimized code. Just remember to defrag your quantum consciousness drives regularly," Sarah replied with a thumbs up. "And don't forget to submit your weekly bug reports. The armor's been working on a new project management system that should make tracking interdimensional anomalies much easier." The armor proudly displayed its latest creation, a universal bug tracking system that could categorize everything from minor software glitches to full-scale reality failures. It had even added a feature that automatically generated appropriate memes for each type of technical issue. "Speaking of which," Sarah turned to the Keeper, "we need to talk about the High Council's new initiative for standardizing galactic technology. I've been reviewing their proposals and, well," she gestured to the armor, which projected a detailed analysis that somehow included both complex quantum calculations and what appeared to be repair shop wisdom passed down through generations of human mechanics. "Is there a problem with the proposals?" the Keeper asked, noting how the armor's display included several warning signs and what appeared to be a sad-looking quantum computer. "Well, for starters, they're trying to implement quantum AI without proper safety protocols. It's like they've never even seen a human sci-fi movie. And don't get me started on their plan to network all galactic systems without implementing proper firewalls. That's just asking for some teenager in their parents' basement to accidentally hack the fundamental forces of the universe." The armor helpfully displayed a simulation of what might happen, featuring a cartoon universe being turned into what it labeled as a cosmic screensaver. "I've scheduled a meeting to go over the basics of cybersecurity," Sarah continued, absent-mindedly fixing a malfunctioning light panel as she walked. "The armor's prepared a presentation called Why Your Password Shouldn't Be the Name of Your Home Planet Spelled Backwards. We're also going to cover why using ancient prophecies as security questions is a bad idea. Turns out they're surprisingly easy to look up on Space Google." Just then, an alert flashed across the armor's heads-up display. Sarah examined it with the practiced eye of someone who had seen every possible type of technical malfunction the universe could throw at her. Uh-oh, looks like someone in the quantum research department tried to download more RAM again. Dave, could you pull up the emergency protocols for containing a localized space-time paradox? And maybe grab my heavy-duty duct tape, the silver one with the radiation shielding. As they hurried toward the disturbance, the keeper couldn't help but notice how the armor seemed to have developed its own unique personality over the past months. It had started adding little decorative touches to its appearance, including a small holographic name tag that read, "Hi, I'm Tazari. Have you tried turning it off and on again?" And what appeared to be a cartoon sticker of a smiling wrench on its shoulder plate. "You know," Sarah mused as they rode the quantum elevator to the research level, "I've been thinking about starting a certification program for galactic IT support. The armor's got all this accumulated knowledge about maintaining advanced technology, and let's face it, most civilizations could use some basic training in not accidentally creating singularities while trying to update their operating systems." The armor enthusiastically displayed a draft curriculum that included such courses as Introduction to Quantum Troubleshooting, Advanced Reality Maintenance, and Why You Shouldn't Use Brain-Melting Horror from Beyond Space as a Power Source 101. "We could call it the Universal Technical Institute for Maintaining Existence," Sarah continued. "Or U-Time for short. The armor's already designed the logo and everything." Indeed, the ancient artifact projected a professional-looking logo that somehow combined traditional galactic symbols with what appeared to be clip art from Microsoft Office 97. "And maybe," she added, ducking under a stream of temporal particles leaking from the research lab, "we could finally teach people the importance of backing up their civilization's data. Do you know how many ancient species went extinct because they kept all their knowledge on a single quantum crystal without making copies? It's just irresponsible data management." The keeper watched as Sarah and the armor effortlessly contained the space-time paradox, using a combination of advanced quantum engineering and what she called the universal repair method, a technique that seemed to involve an improbable amount of duct tape and percussive maintenance. "There we go," Sarah announced triumphantly, admiring their handiwork. "Crisis averted. Though we should probably put up a sign reminding people that you can't actually download more RAM to a quantum computer. Maybe add some cute warning labels with cartoon black holes or something." The armor was already designing the warning signs, complete with helpful illustrations and what it considered appropriate clip art. Somehow, it had maintained its ancient dignity while embracing what Sarah called the essential IT support aesthetic. As they headed back to the main control center, Sarah was already planning her next project, implementing a galaxy-wide ticketing system for reporting technical issues with reality itself. The armor displayed mock-ups for a user interface that somehow made concepts like existential system failure and critical reality breach seem manageable through a simple point-and-click interface. "After all," Sarah said, patting the armor's chassis affectionately, "the universe is basically just one big computer, and every computer needs proper maintenance and support, even if that support sometimes requires breaking a few laws of physics and liberal use of duct tape." The armor hummed in agreement, its cup holders extending proudly as it displayed its latest diagnostic scan of the galaxy's infrastructure. Somewhere in the distance, a quantum computer chimed with the familiar sound of a Windows 95 startup sequence, a sound that had, improbably, become the standard boot-up noise for advanced technology throughout the galaxy. The keeper made a mental note to update their own systems manual. It seemed the age of cosmic heroes and legendary warriors had given way to something far more practical, the era of universal technical support. And somehow that felt exactly right. 6 months into what historians would later call the Great Technical Renaissance, Sarah Chen found herself facing an unprecedented challenge. The Galactic Federation's annual technology summit was approaching, and as the newly appointed Director of Universal Infrastructure, a position created specifically for her after she prevented 3 different apocalypses by implementing proper maintenance schedules, she was expected to give the keynote address. "I don't suppose the armor could just project my maintenance logs and call it a day?" Sarah asked the keeper as they reviewed the summit agenda in her office, which had once been a sacred meditation chamber, but now housed an impressive collection of tools, spare parts, and what appeared to be every type of duct tape manufactured in known space. The armor, ever helpful, displayed a montage of their greatest technical achievements, set to what it considered appropriate background music, a mix of elevator music and quantum harmonics that somehow worked better than it should have. "I believe," the keeper's crystalline form sparkled with amusement, "the council is expecting something more visionary. though perhaps fewer memes than your last presentation on quantum core optimization. Those memes were educational, Sarah protested, while the armor nodded emphatically, displaying a particularly relevant one about proper quantum cable management. Besides, you can't tell me that one does not simply ignore routine maintenance, didn't get the point across. Before the keeper could respond, Dave burst into the office, their maintenance drone attachment whirring with urgency. Sarah, we have a situation in the ancient archives. Someone tried to upgrade the quantum indexing system without following your recommended protocols. Let me guess. Sarah sighed, already reaching for her enhanced tool belt. They didn't read the manual? Worse, Dave reported. They used an unauthorized third-party quantum driver downloaded from galactic tech support.dim. The armor displayed a series of emergency protocols while simultaneously adding another entry to their ever-growing document titled, Ways the Universe Almost Ended Because Someone Didn't Follow Basic EAT Security Practices. Right then, Sarah stood, the armor flowing around her with practiced ease. Keeper, rain check on the summit planning? We've got some quantum debugging to do. Dave, grab the emergency backup drives, the ones with the cat memes. Sometimes you need to distract a corrupted AI with pictures of Earth felines while you fix its code. As they hurried toward the archives, they passed several members of the Silicon Consciousness Collective, who were attending Sarah's advanced workshop on quantum computing ethics, why teaching AIs to play games might lead to unexpected reality simulations. Oh, Sarah! One of the Silicon beings called out. The new troubleshooting matrices you implemented have reduced our existential errors by 98%, though we're still getting occasional pop-up messages about extending our consciousness's warranty. Yeah, sorry about that, Sarah called back while running. Cosmic spam is harder to filter than you'd think. Try updating your firewall. The armor just released patch version 2.0.1 beta. It's got better protection against interdimensional advertising. The scene in the archives was exactly what Sarah had come to expect from unauthorized system upgrades. Swirling vortexes of quantum data, corrupted holographic interfaces sprouting what appeared to be digital tentacles, and at least 3 different versions of reality trying to occur simultaneously. Okay, Sarah cracked her knuckles as the armor ran preliminary scans. This is why we have a change management process, people. Dave, start rolling back the quantum states. I'll handle the corrupted indexes. Armor, let's show them how proper debugging is done. The ancient artifact hummed in agreement, extending various diagnostic tools while simultaneously displaying a small progress bar with a surprisingly accurate estimate of how long the fixes would take. It had learned that humans appreciated knowing when things would actually be finished, rather than the traditional cosmic approach of measuring time in eons and prophecies. As Sarah worked, she couldn't help but notice how much had changed since she first bonded with the armor. The galaxy, once plagued by cosmic horrors and existential threats, now faced a different kind of challenge. Teaching advanced civilizations the importance of reading error messages before clicking OK. You know what the real problem is? She mused while delicately extracting a quantum virus that had somehow achieved sentience and was trying to sell timeline insurance to passing chronons. Everyone wants to jump straight to the advanced stuff without mastering the basics. It's like trying to run a Type 3 civilization on Windows ME. The armor displayed its agreement by showing a brief historical montage of various galactic empires that had collapsed due to poor system administration. It had developed quite a flair for educational content, though its insistence on adding spoiler warnings to historical documents was still a matter of debate among the archivists. There we go, Sarah announced as the last of the corrupted data was cleaned up. Systems restored, quantum indexes defragmented, and I even managed to optimize the search algorithms while we were in there. Plus, she added with a grin, I found these ancient maintenance logs from the original builders. The armor's been translating them. Turns out even they had problems with people not following proper backup procedures. The keeper, who had arrived to assess the damage, watched in amazement as Sarah and the armor implemented new safety protocols that somehow combined advanced quantum computing principles with what she called idiot-proof fail-safes. Perhaps, the keeper suggested, this could be the focus of your summit keynote, the importance of building systems that account for user error across all species and dimensions. Sarah's eyes lit up as the armor began projecting possible presentation slides. We could call it universal technical support, because every species eventually tries to download more RAM. The armor's already got some great charts showing the correlation between cosmic disasters and poor maintenance practices. Indeed, the ancient artifact was enthusiastically displaying data visualizations that somehow made concepts like quantum entropy cascade failures accessible through simple pie charts and the occasional motivational poster featuring cats in spacesuits. Though, Sarah added, watching as the armor added finishing touches to a slide titled, "Why Your Password Shouldn't Be Password," in any language, including Ancient Eldritch. We should probably address the elephant in the room, or whatever the galactic equivalent of an elephant is. You mean the increasing dependency on Earth-based technical solutions? Dave asked, their maintenance drone attachment now sporting several new "I survived another quantum crisis" stickers. Exactly. I mean, it's great that the universal standard for technological interfaces is now based on human design principles, but I'm a bit worried about some of the side effects. Did you know the Hive Mind Collective tried to implement a cosmic help desk system based entirely on knock-knock jokes? The armor displayed footage of the attempt, which had somehow resulted in an entire sector of space responding to all technical issues with "Who's there" for 3 standard cycles. Still, Sarah continued, absently fixing a temporal stabilizer with one hand while sketching out presentation notes with the other. You can't argue with the results. Galaxy-wide system stability is at an all-time high, even if we did have to ban the use of Comic Sans in official documentation after that incident with the quantum typography engine. The Keeper's crystalline form flickered with what might have been laughter. And what about the armor's latest project? The one involving what you called social media for maintenance alerts? Oh, Space Stack Overflow? Sarah grinned as the armor proudly displayed its new creation. It's going great, though we had to add some strict moderation policies after someone posted the question, "How to reverse entropy?" and crashed half the quantum servers in the galaxy. But hey, at least now when someone asks, "Has anyone else had this problem with their reality compiler?" they can actually get helpful answers instead of just prophecies and cosmic omens. The armor's display shifted to show its latest feature, a reputation system that awarded points for successfully resolving technical issues across different dimensions and planes of existence. Somehow, it had managed to make Quantum Debug Master and Certified Reality Maintenance Specialist into highly sought-after titles throughout the galaxy. As they walked back to her office, Sarah couldn't help but reflect on how far they'd come. The galaxy might still face challenges, but at least now they had proper documentation, standardized troubleshooting procedures, and most importantly, enough duct tape to fix just about anything the universe could throw at them. "You know what we really need?" she said suddenly, causing the armor to perk up in anticipation of a new project. "A universal stack exchange just for duct tape solutions. We could call it Duct Overflow, for when the universe needs a quick fix." The armor was already designing the logo, somehow combining the ancient symbols of its creators with a roll of duct tape arranged in what appeared to be a Mobius strip. The Keeper made a mental note to update the ancient prophecies. It seemed the foretold savior of reality turned out to be less about cosmic power and more about proper technical documentation and emergency repair supplies. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, a young civilization was about to learn the most important lesson in universal technical support. Have you tried turning it off and on again? The armor had already prepared a helpful guide, complete with illustrations and, of course, the appropriate number of cat memes. The end.